When anybody sees a lever gun, they think of their grandpa's old dusty 1895 Winchester. This ain't that.
We've got the Glock switch for you.
This is huge.
Yeah, for you.
A lot of guys ask me, does size matter? And I'm sorry to say, yeah, it does. With silencers.
Every cop wants to be there to save the day, but the reality is we're not going to be there. Everybody becomes their own first responder.
I'm a competition shooter, blah-dee-dee-bah-dee-dee-yar-dee-dee-yar. What does that mean?
When I saw that, I was like, I gotta send this.
What is f***ing pronouns? This is not English class. Why all of a sudden are we so concerned with grammar?
Whether you're a gun owner or just someone who's interested in how our rights are being protected, this is a development worth discussing.
Did you guys know that that's what they were trying to do? Take our and put it on Mars? I had no idea.
If Democrats want to fight for people breaking the laws, Americans are done with that bull crap.
Welcome to Whiskey Windage, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Real excited.
Yeah, man. Our first interaction with you, meeting you in person, was at SHOT Show, and at that time we were getting to shoot the clay copter. I was trying to shoot Matt with it, but you said it wouldn't be fun. So,
for legal purposes.
Yeah, you wait for a couple weeks until he comes to Nashville before we go to this GOA event. He's getting shot, and
it's not illegal on private property.
Hey, that's two adults outside of my supervision.
I love that. So, man, before we get the podcast started, what we like to do is we like to, now in this day and age with technology, we like to ask AI about our guest. So what we did today was we asked to give a quick bio on Frankford Arsenal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read that to you. And then once we read that, you can kind of let me know, hey, it sounds pretty good, or AI is dumb, or here's what I would add. So, but before we do that, we do want to get into this and say that this segment is sponsored by Frankford Arsenal, of course.
There you go.
And the X10 press.
If you are reloading, you need tools that work as hard as you do. And that's exactly what you get with Frankford Arsenal. Their top-of-the-line reloading equipment, including case cleaners, powder dispensers, and presses, are designed for precision and efficiency. Whether you're a competitive shooter or a weekend reloader, Frankford Arsenal helps you save time and get more consistent, high-performance rounds. Reload smarter. Reload with Frankford Arsenal, because your ammo deserves the best.
Let's see what it's got to say. So Frankford Arsenal is a U.S.-based brand specializing exclusively in reloading equipment and accessories, such as presses, tumblers, case prep tools, powder measurers, scales, and bullet pullers. Let's see, going through here, they're doing a nod. The name is a nod to the legendary Frankford Arsenal ammunition plant from 1816 to 1877. And the last thing is Frankford Arsenal is a serious, dedicated reloading brand that caters to both beginner and precision reloaders. So as a guy who's got an X10 sitting behind him and a couple off camera, how do you feel that AI did on that?
Man, they did pretty good. I really liked the end of it. Like when we do make gear for everything from beginners all the way to experts. That was a big thing that I kind of took on when I came into the brand 7 years ago, was to get some higher level products into the lineup. We had awesome, tools. They really were, and they were your basic stuff. And I was like, we have some great engineers, and was lucky to get it hired about the same time with an engineer that I knew in college, and that also reloads a lot and shoots a lot. And I was like, we have the guy here, and we can make some cool stuff like the X10, the IntelliDropper, the new precision presses and stuff. A lot of that's coming out of one guy, and that's really cool to be able to expand that offering. But AI hit that pretty good. They didn't mention anything about having an awesome marketing guy. That's cool to hang out with. But
yeah, well, who moonlights as a director too.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Adam. Adam. Holy cow! My bad, dude. I need to just leave now. I just called you Adam. I'll see you later.
I'll take it. So, Box, let's jump right into it. Like, I think in the world of reloading, most people, they ask like, oh yeah, reloading, like I can save a bunch of money doing that. Like in today's economy, we all know there's been an increase in primer cost, an increase in powder cost in the last 3 or 4 years. Is there still an economic reason to do reloading at home? And outside of economy, is there a performance or other benefits to reloading and doing it yourself?
Yeah, good question. I guess I'll split that up into a couple things. First, if you're just looking to load something common like 9mm FMJ, no, you hit the nail on the head. Primers and powder are still at pretty inflated prices from when we went through a few COVID demand spikes. Really ran that market up, and the primers and stuff has stayed, and ammo has righted itself back down. But if you're looking to load better ammunition than just the cheapest ammunition on stuff like that, your competitive shooters and stuff like that, but the cheap factory ammo isn't going to work for a lot of the USPSA and those types of more specialized needs. The other side of that is the performance side of it with the rifles and the match ammo. And absolutely, match ammo is really expensive, and really doesn't cost too much more to load 6.5 Creedmoor than a 5.56. There's a little bit of difference in the powder, which is kind of minimal, and your projectile cost, but it's not insane. So, but then when you look at what costs to go buy a quality box of factory match ammo, yeah, you can save some money, and then you also get to tune it to the rifle in that sense, and build a better product, a more specialized product. So that's what we're seeing a lot of now. I think everybody that's loading is loading out of looking for better performance, a little bit of savings on the match side of it, but less out of necessity, like we see sometimes in the when ammunition's scarce, then a lot of people jump in and buy reloading stuff.
Yeah.
And just to load so they have ammo to shoot. I think that is, like I say, you can go buy some of that stuff right now. And that just ebbs and flows, and it's happened. I've seen it. Been in the industry for 20 years now. And I've seen some, we've been through some of those ups and downs and scarce times.
Yeah.
And right now, ammunition's plentiful, and they're willing to discount it. So
yeah. Because I was going to say, the question Matt asked, there's always that limit. And it's like, hey, if you're the guy that wants to reload 9mm, are you going to be able to reload it cheaper than you can buy it? In the short answer is no, but the long answer is, well, let's talk about quantity. I mean, if you're talking 500 to buy 500, the answer is probably no. If it's 1,000 to 1,000, right, the answer is probably still no, but getting closer. And then if you're like, hey, I'm going to just, me and a couple buddies, we're all going to chip in and we're going to make 1,000 rounds a piece. And there's, 5 or 6 of us, and we're going to bust out 6,000 rounds over a weekend with some cold beer, whatever it is. Like, you might actually save some money at that point, but like you said, just trying to, I'm going to try to, I went and shot 500 rounds today. I'm going to try to replenish those, like, not FMJ at steel. Nah, you're kind of wasting your time. But I did like what you said about match, because there are a lot of people, and we'll get into it later, of course, with the X10. But I grew up, my father and my uncle were avid reloaders, and I've still got some of his old stuff sitting that doesn't work, but I keep it just because it's like, I don't know, it's kind of symbolic and it's neat. Like, I don't want to refinish it. I don't want to clean it up. I just kind of like it as the reminder. But I remember, just getting out there and them, hey, this is a little spicy. Hey, this is a little more spicy. And, let's just see what happens. And yeah, there was a lot of fun times. They never had any crazy accidents. I think the worst accident they had wasn't at the range. It was at the reloading bench, and somehow a primer got flipped when they were cranking on an auto, and it went off the machine. And I remember everybody jumped and hit the deck. And it was like, nothing had been filled. It was like, it's just a primer. But if you're not ready for it, it'll scare the crap.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, detonating. Hearing a pop when you're surrounded with explosives is that.
Yeah, it's
but I've had to happen.
It's crazy. So, with the other names in the industry, we won't talk about those. They've been around for, multiple decades.
Your workspace matters, and the Tipton Best Gun Vise 360 doesn't play around. Built for serious shooters, this vise locks down rifles, shotguns, and ARs with zero movement and full control. Tool-free adjustments, rock-solid clamping, and a 360-degree rotating cradle give you access from every angle. No shortcuts, no compromises. Whether you're building, cleaning, or dialing in, this vise was made to keep up. Tipton Best Gun Vise 360. Built to hold, built to work. When precision matters, trust the tool that delivers. The Wheeler Pro Series 100-piece fat wrench kit brings unmatched control to your bench. With torque you can trust and 100 purpose-built bits, it's the all-in-one answer for gunsmiths, builders, and perfectionists. Whether you're mounting optics or dialing in fine details, this kit hits every mark. Clean, confident, repeatable. No guesswork, no strip screws. Just pro-level performance in your hands. Upgrade your bench with Wheeler Tools.
What are some of the challenges Frankford has faced and is still facing as far as getting in the industry? Because I will say, just looking at the X10, if you look at it pound for pound versus what the other competitors' progressive reloaders start at, if you put all the bells and whistles that you guys include with your X10 on the other guys, there in a lot of cases, there's quite a bit of savings going with you guys. And right out of the box, you're getting I don't want to say a complete professional, because I don't want to discount, all these professional reloading for commercial use. But as far as home-based, semi-professional, I don't know if there's much better out there.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like to say, we had the advantage on the progressive machine of not being first to market, and like I say, being the younger brand really led to us having a favorable position, in my opinion. I had been reloading on progressive machines for a long time to support my pistol and wife's competitive pistol shooting needs. Yeah. And Mike, the engineer that worked on it with me, worked on with me, that built it. I just came up with stupid ideas, and he made them work. He also had loaded on several machines from all sorts of different brands, and we had a long list of what we liked and what we didn't like and what we had modified on our machines. And we looked and did a lot of research and a lot of talking with current progressive reloaders, and to catch everybody's pain points. And then it's easy when you're coming in later to say, hey, this is a problem, how do we solve it? This is a problem, how do we solve it? And try to make it as consumer friendly as possible. So it's great that we were able to use our sourcing and all that to come up with a very competitive price point press that, like you said, it's not a commercial machine. Those are different. That's a whole different company. Those are reloading companies that we've never even heard of, Camdex and all that. But if you're loading if you're loading tens of thousands of rounds, hundreds of thousands over a lifetime, but if you're loading tens of thousands of rounds a year, yeah, we're the press for you. And it's interesting. It was a learning opportunity for me. We had the price brought in a lot of people that had never reloaded before, and teaching somebody that's like, putting a Ferrari on sale for, the price of a Kia, and now you're having to teach somebody like, listen, these machines are not. There's a lot going on. Like
A lot.
there's a lot of setup. There's a lot of tuning. There's a steep learning curve on any progressive machine. I mean, any machine.
Yeah, I would say that. I was going to say that because, I've got a couple single stage presses, and I have a progressive press. And while a progressive is cool, I mean, it's literally, you are the assembly line, but you have streamlined it all into a rotary switch, basically. So if
10 things happen all at the same time.
Yeah, and
10 times the chances to make a mistake.
And if one of those things goes bad and you don't catch it, there's no telling how many more pulls you're going to go through before you realize, oh wait, I'm out, I'm out of primers, or oh wait, the powder's not dispensing quite correctly, or because you did something, or there's tons of different things that can happen. So it's like,
that's how you end up with ammo cans full of bad ammo.
Yeah.
And Frankford Arsenal sells bullet pullers like AI knows. What popular items. But there's a lot of good. I think on the progressive reloading, there's good machines out there from other brands, and it's kind of like a vehicle. Everybody has their brand and their preference for whatever reasons. Just buy a good machine. If you're looking to get into progressive reloading, and somebody's like, oh, should I get a blue or a gray or your color gray or somebody, and I'm like, hey man, look at the features that you want to get, and get something with a good reputation. I got to design this machine with a guy, so of course it has every preference that I want.
For sure.
So I'm going to be super biased on that, but I've ran every other machine you can imagine. I mean, and it literally got to the point where I was like, these machines are too expensive. That was my only gripe. Like, I loved them. They were great. But like I was mentioned earlier, the fastest way to do a caliber change is just to add another machine. And when they're $3,000 to $5,000 per, and you're like, oh man, I'd really like to have 10 machines. Ooh,
yeah,
crazy. And then it's just little stuff that have irked me, like, why doesn't it have a case feeder? Like, why is that not included? Why is it? Why am I buying all this extra stuff? Like, why is that just like it comes with it, right? Like.
Yeah, so I guess it depends with the progressives. If for our listeners that have never reloaded, when it comes to it, let's just pretend all your prep is done. Let's pretend everything is ready, and you just get a bone stock progressive. That's the best way to put it. You get one without the bullet feeder or the case feeder or any of that. You just basically get the primer seeder, and you get the powder dispenser, and then you get the bullet seat. So when you take them, like, you're literally taking with your left hand, you're taking a case, you're placing it in the tray.
Shell plate.
Yeah, the shell plate. And as soon as you put it in, you pull it. Well, what's happening is the one in front of that, the primer's getting installed, and once it's done, it rotates and it's ready for the primer next. So you're taking another one, and you're constantly doing that. But also in that time, as you're feeding that, the primer's getting installed on the next one, the powder's getting installed on the next one, and then you've got the bullet. So you're seating a bullet there as well. So you're constantly left hand, right hand, pull, left hand, right hand, pull. And it does save a lot of time. It definitely does. Most people that start reloading, unless you're making, match ammo that's like, hey, I'm shooting extreme long range and I like to hand measure every single one of my charges, or whether you're just an avid hunter that likes to do that, or whatever you're doing, unless you're physically measuring each one on like an IntelliDropper and then dumping in and then just hand doing it, it definitely cuts a lot of time out. Yep. And if you have it tuned correctly, I mean, you're the expert on this. You've got, the machine behind you. If you've got one set up for 9mm and you just say, I'm gonna load 9mm today, what's the average, output in either, I don't know, an hour or a half a day or whatever? Like, how long does it take to make, I don't know, 1,000 rounds or 500? Like, what's realistic?
I timed it. It's 100 rounds is I can do under 4 minutes. And then you stop and do, we got to add primers in, and then, and your arm is like, you'll get tired. So, I'm not got a Popeye arm on me, it'll wear you out. You want to break, comfortably in that 800 to 1,000, depending on the caliber and stuff, an hour. If you don't have the case feeder and the bullet feeder and all that, and if you go down to a more simple progressive machine, like a 4 or 5 station basic, like manual index machine, which is a great machine, not like, especially if you're first getting into progressive machines, you should look at something like that. It's a great machine. Frankfurt just doesn't offer one. But something like that, I would run maybe 400 rounds an hour. But before that, I was doing everything on a single stage press, which if I could get 100 rounds an hour, it just progressively goes up, and to where it just it matches. And that's the other thing I should have said. I get asked a lot, like, what can you save reloading ammo? And I'll tell you, you don't save a dime, but you shoot a lot more. At least in my experience. It probably cost me a lot more money, but I have tons of ammo, and it's like, you don't even think about how much it costs when you go to the range and mag dump a 30 round magazine. You're like, it was free.
But reloading is also, it's almost like a drug unto itself, because when you go out and you buy primers, for example, you can either buy a little card of 100, or you can buy a brick of 1,000. And it's like, all right, well, I bought 1,000 primers.
Might as well.
Shit, I guess I got to reload 1,000 rounds now, because if I don't, I'm wasting what I just spent there. So it kind of forces you to get back in there and reload, which is a good thing. It's a real good thing. Good friend of mine, he started reloading his own hunting ammo last year. We talked about it. He got into it. And I mean, now this dude is like literally he's just trying to differentiate with a dope chart of like, 1/10 of a grain. What's this do? What's this do? And he's optimizing. I'm like, dude, you're hunting deer. Like, you're good right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want you to be as accurate as possible. And, as I guess, as good a hunter as you can be when it comes to taking game. But at the same time, like a 1/10 of a grain, man, I don't know if you're really going to notice that, but he swears he can. And I'm like, all right, well, good on you. I wouldn't, I'd just shoot it.
And that's kind of where I'm at in my shooting life right now is the rifle stuff. And I compare it to like, having a car, like, like a performance car. You're just trying to get, it doesn't matter. Like, good enough was done way, way, way ago. Like, getting better than factory, easily done, like super easy. Like that takes very little work. Now chasing the last 5% that a gun has in it, it's fun. It's fun.
That's where the money comes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of testing, a lot of verifying. Did that 10th really do what you think it did, or and it's funny because you guys Hunter well. We worked together. And me and him are into the same type of reloading. And one of us will hear somebody, some expert make some claim. Okay, yeah, we got to do that. And then we end up like, well, I don't know. That might have been snake oil. So then we go and we keep going back and forth. And it's funny because that kind of brings us into the situation. We've talked a lot about the X10. And a lot of people ask me, they're like, well, if I buy a single stage, they just think it's a waste of money starting out. I still load all of my match ammo on a single stage for now, but I will say that I have started loading very, very, very accurate match ammo on an X10 just to prove that I could do it. I just don't need 1,000 rounds of 6 GT. Like I can do it. I can do it. But
burn this barrel out before I shoot all this.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I can load it in smaller batches, and if the gun is is changing and I need to adapt to load, it's easier to do than if I had just ran 1,000 rounds out on an X10, and they're like, they will still shoot amazingly well. And Hunter and I have chased every SD and groups, and I mean we've gone down so many rabbit holes. I don't know how we came back. We might still be lost. I don't know.
But I was going to say, but I also take, even with the progressive I have, I still go to my single stage when it's time to use a different powder or use a different bullet, or I'm trying a different brand primer. And it's just because it's like, before I get stuck in the assembly line factory production, even if this is just target ammo but better than factory, it's like, hold on, let me make 5 or 10 of these single stage so I can go out and test to make sure I got it right. That way I can dial up or down and do what I need to do before you take it into production. Because if you get it in production and you bang out 100 of them in 5 minutes, like you weren't paying attention, and then all of a sudden it's wrong, like you said, there's an ammo can full of ammo that you're not having.
That's wrong.
Yeah,
I love to say blood puller, but it's easier if you don't have to do it.
Yeah, you can either disassemble it, or you can just shoot it. As long as it's safe ammo, you can just shoot it knowing that it's not accurate, but it's like, well, I'm still going to shoot it.
Yeah, just range ammo. But yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, you change single stage, you can adjust one variable every doing it, and you don't have to do the full changeover setup. Like I say, it takes a while to change over a progressive machine, and there's a lot of adjustments and setups to dial it in, and that's why I say a lot of us that have the space and shoot a lot, we'll just buy another machine. Like, I don't change that machine.
I'll tell you, the hardest part on a progressive for me, and it's not hard, but it always gives me fits, is once you're changing. Let's just say we're moving from 308 and we're going to 6.5 Creedmoor, and so you're still staying rifle calibers, and you move in and you put your new powder in and you're trying to get that dispensed properly. Getting the powder to dispense the powder pour out of one of those things, and I don't have any experience with yours, but the powder pour out of all these other ones where it lifts up and it just dumps a certain amount, for some reason it never fails. I always end up screwing that up somehow, and I'm just like, shit, like, what am I doing here? So I don't know. There's, like you said, you have to pay attention constantly.
And that comes down to, I think that comes down to, you may not be able to run the powder that you want. You may have to change powders to get better flow characteristics. There's some aftermarket stuff that shake the powder measure a little bit to get it to settle more, because we're doing a volume measure instead of weight on that. And it can be done, but you end up, if you're like, oh, I want to run this really large extruded powder, nah, sorry. You're back on an IntelliDropper and a single stage to get the results that you want. So, no cake and eating it too in that sense, in that scenario.
So, Box, let's break it down a little bit. We've kind of mentioned in passing, but haven't been real direct. Let's talk about the flagship over there at Frankford, the X10 press. What makes it special in the market, and why should people who are considering a progressive press consider the X10?
Yeah. So what makes it special is and it's in its name in a sense, is it's a 10 station press. A lot of your presses in its price range are going to be somewhere around that 5 station. Now, why do you need 10 stations? Well, the answer is you don't need 10 stations, but having 10 stations gives you flexibility in your setup to perform different operations at different spots in that, as that shell holder's rotating. Everybody has their own recipe and secret way of loading on a progressive. So going to 10 allows us to do that. It also has something that I was really excited to put on, is called on-press swaging. So that's for the primer pockets. We can go pick up cheap 5.56 ammo that has a crimp in that primer pocket, so it's not reloadable until you swage or cut that crimp out to take a new primer. Well, this, you can dump it in, and as it processes it through, the machine does that for you, just like a sizing operation, but for the primer pocket.
Nice.
There's a few other things. Ours comes with a case feeder. Like I say, I don't understand why you would have a machine of that size and not be running a case feeder. Little things like all the small parts and stuff come in cases. That just drove me nuts. Every time I go to change something on my press, there's these loose parts floating around. I'm like,
Always.
And then you can't do it. So then I'm buying more. And then by the time I got rid of my machines, I had, I'm still finding parts from presses I sold 10 years ago because I had bought so many because I kept losing them.
All the little boxes.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I put it in a Hornady bullet box, It's like that's where that small primer slide went. And you're like,
yes.
Huh, I thought I had bullets, and I opened it up, surprised. Now I'm double disappointed. Yeah, stuff like that was just, and then the value, it's about half the price of a similarly outfitted and similar class machine. We're about half the price, and that comes from us being really well at sourcing and design. I like to say that we had the advantage. We weren't the first ones out, so we had the time to take and look and go, okay, how can we do something better? And the goal for me was to make a price point machine that people could afford to have multiple of, but also somebody that was getting in to maybe not their first progressive machine, but get them a machine that is top level, like skip that mid-tier stuff, and really bring in a machine that's top tier features and performance at a mid-tier price. So I won't say they're not cheap. They're over $1,000. Like that's not cheap. And I understand that. And it's great. We have a great online community on the Facebook pages. There's owners groups, and we help walk a lot of new owners through. Like we get a lot of, hey, this is my first progressive, or sometimes a lot of first machine.
Yeah, this is my first press.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. All right. We'll
right,
get you
buddy.
up to
I'll hold
speed.
your hand.
Yeah, we walk you through it, and it's great. It's awesome to see when we started that how it got embraced by the community, and we kind of built a really cool product. And we have some. I guess I classify it as fanatics at this point because they are die hard. They'll defend it to the death.
That's what Hunter was telling us, because I was talking about the X10. He was like, if you ever go to an X10, he was like, when you get it, you're going to have to either, you can watch stuff online or you can look on our website. He was like, but you either need to call me or Box, because we'll walk you through setting it up, because even if you have a progressive, there are every brand has its own little nuances and like shortcuts and tips and tricks. And it was like,
oh yeah,
man, this is intense. This is intense, but it's pretty cool.
And you get on those Facebook pages and have a problem. There's probably me or Hunter or Mike, the engineer. Hey, try this. Sounds like you did this. Don't use your gorilla strength.
Don't give it the ugga
like people make a bad adjustment, and instead of fixing the thing that's out of adjustment, they think, oh, just put more force on it. And you'll break stuff.
So I'm not a real smart man, Box, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like twice the number of stations for half the money.
Yeah, I think that's a fair. Man, why didn't the marketing guy think of that?
He's sitting right over there. Tell him to get his notebook. I got his number. I'll call him.
Yeah. Hunter, take notes.
So, looking at it, something I noticed, and when you do all this, like what, as far as you talked about the swage, as far as dyes, talk to me about dyes, because looking at your website, one thing I did notice is typically it's like, if I look in my thing, I've got green boxes, I've got some blue boxes, I've got some red boxes, all different dyes. And then I think I probably have one big Tupperware box filled with the primer pins for 5.56, because I think every time I reload, I at least break 5 of those, thanks to the crimp. But talk about the primer, or talk about the dyes.
Dyes?
You know what how does that work? Because I noticed you don't offer any.
No. We stayed out of that. We looked at it, and just being strategic, that market is very much satisfied, and there's a million. It's a very SKU intense thing too. If you're going to offer dyes, you're going to have a lot of them. Not really in our wheelhouse of what we do. So we do have a bullet seating dye for rifle that I love. It's a universal bullet seating dye. It's amazing. It works so good. On the other dyes, hey man, it's the machines that we make will work with anybody's dyes. It's going to be a lot of user preference. So, and I'm not a brand loyal guy. There are dyes that I don't personally like certain features of, and I avoid them. But if you come in and start looking close at my machines, you're going to see every color and box dye that you can imagine, and it just varies. And I think some pistol dyes, I will say, like I'm to the point now where I buy higher end dye sets. I see the value in it, but when I started, man, I had Lee dyes. I still have them. They don't wear out. They're in that Tupperware box of just stuff I can't throw away. But do I want a dye that runs a little bit better in my progressive machine? Yeah.
That was the first one. I was going to say that was the first dye that took me by surprise. I got a Lee dye, and I opened it up, and it was like, this thing comes with its own little like measuring spoon. Like, what the hell? What? Well, like, I'm not doing this, but they thought of it. Like, I'll give them flowers. Like, hey, at least you thought of it. I was like, what do we measure? Like, looks like we're cooking in here with these little like
scrape it off, and there may be a better way. It's a way. It's the most cost-effective way, I guess. But there's better ways to measure out powder. But yeah, I get that asked a lot, and I run a lot of. I mean, there's some expensive dyes out there. Whether it's a Dillon dye, which that's an expensive side. Lyman has it on their Mark 7 series, on their Pro series, and Mighty Armory. He makes some like specialty, like progressive reloading dyes, and that's kind of more what I'm going to is it's dyes that are set up more with the idea of running on a progressive machine, versus a dye that's meant to kind of jack of all trades. So it'll be flared a little bit better and have and be more forgiving for a reload, for a progressive reloading setup. And there's other stuff, and they'll all argue about, oh, my sizing dye does this and that, and it's everybody, and I'm not discounting it and saying that they're wrong. Everybody there's a million ways to the finish line, and everybody has their path.
So it's kind of safe to say, kind of like my progressive one that has their quick change dye set up, however you want to word that. And so it's their little special thing that sits in for that dye. And basically it's safe to assume that Frankford has something similar to that. So you can put your dyes in that regardless of brand. So when you're changing, but the fixture that actually is going into the X10 is a Frankford piece with a dye attached to it.
We sell a whole tool head. Like, you can just buy the entire that has 10 spots in it, or I guess 9. Has 9 holes.
Yeah.
And it has an LED light and stuff. It's got some cool stuff. Yeah, and that's what most people do that when you're running in a progressive machine, you set those dies up, and then when you're going to change calibers, you just buy a whole nother top end, and don't change that. Well, that's what most people do. So we'll sell all the accessories to be able to do that. You buy a whole nother powder measure if you want, so you don't have to change that over. So that way, it's a little bit easier to do a change that way saves time, and then you're just not losing adjustments and chasing an adjustment that's just basically preset from the last time.
I think that's really smart, though. That's somebody looked at that and was like, like really how much innovation and how much like profitability is there in dyes? Like, I'm not saying that they can't be innovated or get any better, but it is a flooded market. It is a SKU intense market. Like, let's focus on making the machines a superior product at a better value, and allow it to take any of the industry standards. I guess it akin to like building a handgun that takes Glock magazines. Like, it's just smart. Like, the market's flooded. It's already there. It's already a proven system. Let's make the machine different. So kudos to y'all. We've talked so much about the X10, and it is great that it's 10 stations is a lot. That's a lot of work. But you guys also still offer single stage presses. The F1 still seems a viable option if someone wants to go that single stage route.
Yeah, we actually have 3 single stage presses now. We just launched a new one that should be here in this fall. They'll be on the market. We started with our M press, which is a kind of coaxial design press, which is, if you like that style of press, it's a great press. And when I came out with the F1, we come out with an entry price point to get people that are still a quality press. I loaded all my match ammo on F1s. I preferred that traditional O-frame style machine. That was just my preference of loading over the top coaxial design. And that was a good press. And then the latest, the precision ones came out of the engineer saying, "Hey man, I've been doing this on the side." Like, it wasn't hey, we really need another machine. And his design was so cool. I was like, yeah, man, that's awesome. We should bring that to market. There's a need. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I also designed it as a turret press. So now we have a 8 station. Yep, 8 station. I got one sitting right over there. Turret press. And I challenged him with that. Like, I was like, well, there's a $1,400 turret press on the market that everybody is, and it is probably the best, most accurate turret press that had been on the market when it came out at $1,400 though. Just so you know, but all basically hand-built hand machine, and there's a reason why it costs so much. We looked at the design, and I was like, I've ran turret presses in the past. They had a lot of flex in the head, and it was more, in my opinion, more of a way to make cheap, less precision ammo faster than a single stage, but not get into a progressive machine. And I was like, cool. I said, we can do that. I said, but if we're going to put the Frankford name on it, I want it to be the most precise, especially if we're going to call it a precision turret press. I was like, there's no. And so we bought a $1,400 example off the market, and we measured how much flex there was in the tool head. And I said, there's your baseline. I said, make me a turret press that flexes less than that. That does everything this does and flexes less than that. And I was like, and I'll sign off on it. And yeah, he did. He's like, yeah, that's doable. And so we have a turret press now it's in the 400s.
Damn.
Instead of 1,400.
Nice. Instead of 1,400?
Yeah. And then that's because we were able to do, like, we didn't CNC out a primer catch. I mean, I'm sure that primer catch, if we were to do it, it would cost, if we were to build the same way, the same stuff, it would cost that much or more. But we used, a plastic primer catch that we use on the F1. It does great. You don't need, that's
billet aluminum.
Yeah. So we tried to save money, add all the stuff that mattered, and save money, and do a cast iron body instead of full CNC machine. But we're not a CNC machine company. It's not like we could source a product if it makes sense, but you don't have to do that. Now, if all you have is a CNC machine, I see why you do it, but it costs. There's ways of doing stuff that performance-wise, the cost versus performance, it doesn't make, And so it's great. And there's customers out there for a $1,400 turret press. That's great. That company sells everyone they can make, I'm sure. But we wanted to make something that for the guy that wanted that, but wasn't that was never an option. Like, and I shoot a lot, but I'm not buying a 14 press, and I'll spend stupid money on my reloading habit and stuff. But at that point, I'm like, man, I have a single stage and gain versus cost, and yeah, no, man, I just couldn't bring myself. But like I say, it was cool. It was a cool project, and now we have this really cool. I love it. It looks amazing. It looks like it should cost twice as much as it does, which I think that's kind of our thing, right? Like our stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really high value is how I describe it. Like the most value you can get in reloading.
So reloading, for our listeners that don't reload, reloading is a lot like a lot of the other expensive hobbies out there on the market. Duck hunting, golf, all those good things. Right when you think you have all the stuff you need in your golf bag, you realize you need something else. So let's go ahead and take the press and let's just push that to the side for a second. And for the new person starting to say, hey, I think this podcast has motivated me, I want to reload. And they bought the press. We'll just say they bought the F1. They've got a single stage and they're going to start from scratch. That's the last machine. Let's get into some of the other machines or the other equipment that we're going to need to get started. So let's just say we're out there. We all spent a day at the flat range. After we're done, we drew straws and Matt had to pick up all the brass, and he did. And he's got them all in a,
we got them range chickens.
And he's got them all in the, he's got them all in a bag or in a grocery bag or whatever it is. And we go in there. So starting there, we've got previously fired cases. So, I typically deprime before I clean. But let's just start there. What are some of the things that we're going to need?
Well, so we have dirty brass. You're right. We need to clean it. There's different ways to do that. Everybody has their preferred way, and we offer the machines to do two of them. You can do the old vibratory tumblers. They use like corn cob or crushed walnut hull and some polish, and you throw it in there and it shakes it around, and you plug it in and you put it in the garage because it's really loud and kind of dusty, and then you forget about it and you come like into the garage the next day and it's still running. At least
and that brass is super shiny. You can see yourself in it.
Real clean. And so you can do that, and that polishes off all the carbon and stuff off the outside of the case, which most reloading, that's all we care to do is knock the dirt and stuff off of it. The other way that we're one of the very early ones into the market with this is called wet tumbling. Mm-hmm. And so we use honestly, it came from people using rock tumblers, and it's just drums that you throw the brass in. Mike, as you said, you can knock the primer out if you want, which we make a little handheld tool that you can deprime your brass while you're sitting in your chair watching TV, or you can do it on the press. Your call. So we knock the primers out, or we don't. Your call. You can fill it with water. We sell several different types of cleaning solution. I discourage people using homebrew stuff, because if you get into using something with acid to try to counteract the water hardness, that acidic will pull zinc out of your brass, and now you
make it brittle.
It'll make it brittle, and it's like, man, some of that brass is really expensive. So I use ours. I mean, if I'm worried about water spots, you can tumble it in a vibratory tumbler or something, but I don't worry about water spots. It's just of no concern. It's just a look. But do that. You have water, a cleaning solute agent. I like the little Tide Pod thing, so that's registered. Little cleaning pods that look like something else that you shouldn't eat. Yeah, I think it even says on the packaging now, thanks
Do not eat.
to society. You throw that in, and then there's little itty bitty stainless steel pins. If you want to clean that primer pocket out and you want to scrape all the carbon off the inside of that brass, you put those pins in. If that's not a concern to you, leave the pins out. You close the drum up, it rotates. I mean, you can run it for 40 minutes to an hour and it's clean. If you want to run it 3 hours to make it spick and span, shiny, brand new looking polished brass, go for it. But the big thing is that we just want to get all the dirt off so we're not running it through the dies in the gun again. So you take it out of there, you separate it out from whatever media. We sell separators. There's a different, everybody has a preferred way of doing that. We have probably half a dozen ways to do that.
Sucks. Either way you look at it, it all sucks.
Yeah. Figure out what works for you. Everybody has their own recommendation. So you separate that out. Now, if I wet tumble all my stuff, by the way. I refuse to use a vibratory tumbler. It's just dusty and nasty, and I don't.
It's gross.
And then I'll throw it in a brass dryer, which looks shockingly like a jerky dehydrator, but this one says brass. If you don't have that and you have a wife that leaves the house, you can use her oven. Just don't leave it in there. I've gotten some talking to's because of that early on, and then also leaving the strainer in the bathtub. Yeah, no, don't to clean up all your evidence. Is a pro tip there. But yeah, so you'll end up with clean brass, and then you need to prime it. You can prime it on the press. On some presses, we sell, my opinion, the best hand primer on the market. It works amazingly well. It has a lot of cool features, but it's a micro adjustable for seating depths, and you can get all nerd out over your seating depth and how perfect you need that. If you want to do it, you can. If you just want to punch primers into 9mm, it works great for that too. So you get it primed. You can run it through the machine. I guess technically we would size it. Sorry, I missed a step. Size it somehow and prime it. And then you fill it with powder. And then we're going to, whether you use the old yellow scoop or you use something a little more sophisticated, like a volumetric measure or our IntelliDroppers, which I really love. And there's a new one of those coming out in the fall.
I've got the 1.0. I have the
we'll get to 2.0 when they come in.
I love the 1.0.
Oh man, they're so yeah. And they work so good. And so then you're going to put powder in and then seat that bullet. And then you have the option of crimping the bullet, which that gets into if it's a handgun cartridge, typically we crimp. If it's a rifle cartridge that we're going to run through a semi-auto, a lot of people crimp. Some don't, some do. And that's just simply taking the mouth of the case and squeezing it around to just help it hold the bullet a little better, to make sure that the bullet doesn't get pushed back in during the feeding process. It's pretty straightforward. It's not, rocket appliances here. It's as complicated. It's as complicated as you want to make it. In the simplest of terms, we're cleaning it, resizing it so that it goes back in the gun, put a new primer, more powder, bullet, and repeat. Back to shoot and repeat.
So on a when I first got into reloading, God, probably 10 years ago, I was in a reloading chat room. I don't know if it was the best place to be or the worst place to be. But I had one guy who asked me, hey, how many times have you reloaded your brass? How do you mark it? And I was like, I reload what I pick up. And he was like, well, you need to be careful with brittleness and you need to inspect it and all this stuff. And I was like, I got you. And then I got the gospel. You guys don't offer one, but I want to ask you, I got the gospel of annealing. And it was, you have to anneal. If you're not annealing ever reload, you're screwing up. And I was like, man, I understand the process. I get the process. I believe there's probably some logic to it and probably a lot of reasons why you should anneal. However, I don't believe I should have to anneal every reload. And if I'm literally shooting the same 100 rounds of brass, I get it. It expands, as it's fired. You got to trim it. You got to resize it. At some point, it will become brittle. So annealing would be good. But I'm not the guy that's firing the same brass 7 times. So is annealing something that should be done, or like, is it what's your thoughts?
Dude, if you started that conversation off with I pick my brass up off the ground, no. No, 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 no. Annealing is the least of your worries, sir, because we have mixed head stamp and everything else. Like that is we're so far in the last percentages of chasing match ammo that nobody in their right mind that's in that game would be sourcing their brass from the ground. We start with fresh,
Amen.
and there's a very regimented process, and on that type of ammo, yes, I anneal. On the stuff that's going in all my ARs and everything else, no way am I wasting the time.
So
it just doesn't matter, and especially in the semi-auto, I'll lose that brass before it ever wears out. Like I mean, my recovery rate will kind of thin it out. If I find while I'm loading it and I find a cracked piece of brass, you just pitch it. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
You'll feel it. You'll feel it when it runs through the die. You're like, oh man, that one felt like there was no piece of brass in there. Well, it's because it's a cracked case. You can just pitch it.
Okay.
Now,
So,
if you're talking about like match ammo, and you're buying Lapua or some really nice brass, absolutely we anneal it. We get better. Our brass lasts us longer. We have invested. That's an investment in that brass when you get it. I don't want to have to start over from scratch because that's a whole other load before I fire formed it in the actual gun and got it back into my rotation. That's not wasted ammo or wasted money on components, but it's still not the best ammo that I could get. And if somebody's telling you about the benefits of annealing to some guy that's loading 223 or something, man, they're just trying to flex on you. It's absolutely not.
Now, if you were going to take, I guess the next question would be is if you were going to take, if I was going to take cases to, 5.56, if I was going to take some, 5.56 ammo cases, and I was going to reform them to now shoot 300 blackout and reshaping the neck, reshaping, everything about it, I could see at that point why annealing might be important because it's almost like you're rehardening that brass, taking out all the weak points. But yeah, like I'm not that guy. Like if I need 300 blackout ammo, I'm buying 300 blackout brass.
Yeah, 100% now, especially now that round, that round was always meant to be very easy to convert. If you're talking about somebody that's building a Wildcat where you're forming a new caliber off of a previous brass, man, you're at a whole nother level. That's a different type of reloader, and yeah, they will have the annealing machines, and that's fine. And just I guess to explain too for any of the listeners that don't understand, the best way was explained to me that made the most sense is if you take a piece of wire and you start bending it, and you bend it and you bend it, eventually it's going to snap. Well, that's the way brass is. We fire it and it swells, and then we shrink it down. It fires, it swells, and we shrink it down. We can only do that so many times before it'll snap. If every time you bent that wire, you heated it up and annealed it by adding heat to it and letting it cool, you could sit there and bend that wire back and forth a lot, and I mean a lot more, before that thing will eventually let loose. So that's the best way. It's a metallurgy thing of like heating it and keeping the brass soft so that it's more workable.
But for
it's an investment. Oh yeah, no.
But for the average reloader who's like, hey, I'm interested in doing this and I just want to bang out a whole bunch of 9 or I want to bang out a whole bunch of 308 for the upcoming season for my hunt camp or whatever it is, like if you're starting with good brass and you're starting, if you've got good brass, especially new brass, but if you're starting with all that stuff, you shouldn't have to worry about things like that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And like I say, you're chasing that last percent or two, man. We're worried about neck tension, consistencies, and all that. And there's a whole rabbit hole of getting down on that, and that's me and Hunter we could write you a book on all the stuff that we chase down, all to get to the end of it and go, Yeah, that was just a bunch of smoke. That didn't
A bunch of snake
nothing.
oil, man.
Yeah, dude, just nothing. You're like, and maybe it worked. I'll give them the credit. Maybe it works for them. Man, it didn't work for us.
Like, what barrel were they using? That's not the barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the new one that was. I mean, it's not new anymore, but I mean, I guess you could look at it the same with 338 ARC. But a few years ago, when 86 Blackout came out, and regardless of what you think of the caliber itself, taking a 6.5 Creed and trying to shove, a 338 bullet in that neck, you could convince me, and you can give me the case for annealing because, I mean, you're stretching that thing out, and you gotta reharden it.
Yeah, 86 Blackout was not easy cartridge to form like 300. It required more than just running through sizing dies and cutting off like a 300 Blackout. I mean, you had to neck turn that stuff because we're making the new neck is made out of the case body and it's too thick. And I didn't have a deep seated hatred for neck turning, which is literally like thinning the neck of the case to where it's consistent. You have like these little mini lathes that do it. I didn't really have much of an opinion. I always bought really high quality brass so that I'd never neck turn it. I am convinced I would do more damage trying to neck turn a really nice piece of brass because it's already consistent from the factory. So then I borrowed Hunter, who has tried to get high performance at a low, just above range pickup brass, trying to save $1 and spend all the time neck turning brass. And I did that. And I was like, no way. No, I said, I'll shoot this round when the brass is available. Because I refuse. I flat refuse to neck turn anything. I can't do it. And some reloading processes are very tedious, and I don't mind them. That is one that I can't. I don't think Frankford's going to make a neck turning tool, guys. Like, I hate it so much that I don't want to even have to try to develop one.
Yeah, I was going to say that 8.6 stuff, when I got into reloading that, I haven't started yet, but when I got in, I was like, all right, I bought the dies, and then I ran across a guy I know, and he sold me 500 rounds of new brass that was 8.6.
You're good.
And I was like, this is what we're doing, because I'm not going to modify 6.5. Like, it's not worth it to me.
No.
I would hurt myself.
You got an ammo can of 6.5 brass that has been necked. It's just all been neck turned. I'll send it to you, guys.
I don't want it because I don't want that. I don't want that work.
Miserable. It's miserable. Go buy the 6 brass that's available now.
Buy it.
100%. I value my time way more than I've ever cost of getting brass that I have to neck turn. No way.
No way.
Yeah.
So Box,
want to do your taxes.
So Box, we talked a little bit about cost savings, and we've talked a bit about repeatability, accuracy, the ability to develop your own load specific to your weapon. But are there any other reasons that listeners should consider reloading at home? I also kind of believe in the aspect of as Americans, and along with our Second Amendment right, that we should be independent from the absolute need of commercial manufacturers to be able to supply our ammunition.
Yeah, I think you hit one of the 3 other main reasons that I hear. I think that is probably number 4. Before that, I would say is that people that reloading for calibers that are obscure or obsolete. Like, you're not going to go into and sometimes it's just early adapters, like for example, 6mm GT. That there is factory ammo available for that, but for the last 5 years there wasn't. And we were shooting that stuff, and it was a great round. It's in its own right. It really is. And now I'm seeing a lot of factory built guns in that caliber, and some companies have stepped up and started making ammunition for. So there's that absolute obsolete ammo. There's the not being reliant on supply chain, and you can see kind of right there that goes that way, or a lot more. It's all primers. I have bullets, I have powder, and I keep enough on hand that'll last me a few years. And I kind of try to keep that at a reasonable level. I've never seen the cost of components just drop to nothing. I've seen like when demand drives it really high, but as long as you're not paying some insane inflated price, you're paying at true like market value. You might as well buy it. It doesn't go bad as long as you're keeping it in a dry place and just save it. You work 20. I've reloaded primers that are probably 40 years old. They work fine. Powder does too. It doesn't really go bad. So
as long as it doesn't smell funny.
Yeah. If it's clumpy and smells weird, don't shoot it.
I was gonna say I've still got a bunch of the IMR stuff that was in the metal cans. My dad, when he stopped reloading, he gave to me. Like, I mean, these things still have like price tags of like $12.99, and
I think I got some up there that are in the $4 range. Not that I'm loading, but I just keep for mementos.
Yeah, I haven't done any reloading with it, but it was like, man, this is just cool to keep. Like,
yeah.
So I've taken a little bit out and I've taken a little bit out and put it out on the driveway, and I'm like, I'm gonna hit a torch with it and see if it goes. It still burns well.
That's right.
The only thing I'm warning about that is that you don't know the burn rate anymore. Like, it has deteriorated, so the burn rate's going to be inconsistent from what it was. So that's just and honestly, it's got like nitrogen in it. So if you pour it on your lawn, it's just fertilizer.
Yeah, you're gonna get like the old you're gonna get the old muzzle loader, the old Kentucky rifle to pull the trigger. Wait a second, boom, get the hang fire going. But
yeah, so there's that, and then I think another reason I've heard is some people just do it because they want to reduce brass waste. Maybe to that I say you can still recycle the brass. Like, if you're worried, if that is a concern, and most ranges that I go to, they do make you police up your brass to keep it looking nice. And there's a bin, like you don't have to don't throw it in the trash. Please don't throw it in the trash. If you don't reload, find somebody that does. They'll take. You don't have to.
Yeah, take it to an indoor gun shop.
To get, anybody. Somebody will take that brass.
Yeah, if you take it to
brass, no steel, no aluminum.
Yeah, you take it to a gun range that's got an indoor range. Somebody's out there buying their pickup brass, and if you just want to get rid of yours, just give it to them. I mean, they probably won't buy it from you, but at least give it and put it to use and recycle that. At
least you get to take it to your recycling center. If you want to go get a fraction of what it's really worth, take it and recycle it. Whatever. I'm all for that. Don't leave it laying around. Don't after it comes out the gun, it's trash. If it's on the ground, pick it up.
Yeah.
And find somebody or save it, and someday maybe you'll get into reloading. I don't know. I'm a bit of a hoarder. You can kind of tell. It gets so much worse. We're really zoomed in here, so you can't see the full scope of how bad this really is.
I took a whole bunch of brass at different stages, and I made a coffee table, a Whiskey and Windage coffee table, and it's got cigar boxes, it's got gun parts, and it's got brass, it's got it's got good ammo. It's got 50 BMG in this thing. And I took the whole thing, placed everything down, and poured it in an epoxy table. And so everything is just preserved. Cool. And so I've got different brass. I've got picked right up off the ground, super oxidized, and then I've got some that is, just been, polished and ready to go. And then I did reload a few and didn't put primers or powder in them. I just seeded some bullets just to throw in there. But yeah, man, I mean, it's a whole vibe. Like, reloading is its own thing, and you have to really want to do it. But also I would point out, in today's age, with firearm rights being managed by the state, as I believe the state should manage your firearms and not federal. The unfortunate side to that, though, is you're going to have some states that are going to add obscene taxes and things like wait time doesn't concern me. If they put weight on ammo, like, whatever, I'll wait 3 days. I mean, I'm not dying for ammo that bad. But as far as obscene taxes, like, I heard Colorado's trying to add tax to things, and I know they're doing it to firearms, I think. But if you're going to charge me a 50% tax on some ammo, like, I'll just make it myself.
Yeah, I hope we don't get to that.
I hope not. I hope not either. But one thing I do want to ask you because you've done this forever, what is the most common myth or misconception you hear when it comes to reloading?
Two. I want to talk about two. Number one is that it's really hard or really complicated, uh, process. It's not. It's really not. It's as much as you want to make of it. If your goal is to make just as good ammo as what you're buying at the store, that is the easiest thing to do. It really is, and uh, you'll pick it up fast. It really is, and you don't need a lot of equipment to do it. We can get through with some basic, and we sell a great little starter kit with that F1 press. You got everything you need to do. So there's some really good press kits out there. The second one is it's dangerous. I hear horror stories and whatever, and there's a lot of stuff like, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen factory ammunition blow up firearms as well. We're doing controlled explosions inside these things, guys. Like, things can go wrong, and whether we blame the ammunition or the firearm or the user error, not to argue that, but I think a lot of people think that it's a lot more dangerous than what it is. Now, you stick to very basic safety rules, like there's published data. You don't exceed it. You stay within those bounds. You work your way up, and it's don't just dive off the deep end and reloading. You kind of wade on out there and figure out where you're going to be at. So if somebody blows up a gun, there's a lot of user error if it truly was from reloading. We used the wrong propellant or something, because I'll tell you right now, overpressure to where it's like catastrophic and blowing up a firearm overpressure is typically, hey, we used a pistol powder in a rifle round.
Yeah.
And that's just, I can't hold that to the reloading process. That can happen from anything.
I think
eyes and ears.
That. I was going to say, people tell me that all the time. They're like, "Oh, isn't reloading dangerous?" And I'm like, it's about as dangerous as using like a circular saw or using a using a drill press. Like, as long as you are paying attention to what you're doing, you should be fine and it won't get out of hand. If you're careless and you're not watching what you're doing and guesstimating is good enough for you, then you might get bit. So, but in most cases, I mean, when I started reloading, I told my dad I was going to do it, and he didn't come out and help me. He was like, "All right, good luck." And then he was like, "Show me what you're doing, and then I'll help you out." He was like, "Man, you got it. How'd you do it?" And I was like, I read the instructions in the manual, first off, and second, I bought 3 different reloading powder books, and I bought 3 just because I was like, well, I want to see what all of them say. And they're all pretty much the same, but some of them have different rounds in them. So it was like, as long as you're following, I mean, it's almost like a cookbook, man. As long as you're following the ingredients and the instructions, it's really hard to mess up.
Yeah, there's very basic common sense safety procedures. You can make it as complicated as you want, and if you get into it, I almost guarantee you that you will, and you'll overcomplicate stuff at some point. You'll just have to step back and go, "Why am I doing that?" That's the part. But yeah, I think a lot of people are just too intimidated. And from that, I'd say, hey, and the reloaders that are really into it love sharing the craft. So find somebody and ask them. I don't know how many times I've gone to set people's reloading stuff up. It's fine. And then every time they're like, wow, that's pretty simple. Yeah, dude, it's not. We're not inventing the wheel here, man. Like, this is dirt simple.
So, Box, what? Frankford, you've got some new products out this year. They're launched. They're out. They're in full swing. But looking forward for the brand, I guess 2026, maybe 5 years. Like, what's the big scope for Frankford here?
Well, so I say we have our new products, and they're coming out here soon. Towards the end of 2025, in the fall of 2025, we'll have them in the consumer hands. Future products, I think it's really going to be determined by market conditions. Like right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to develop a lot of products to run high volume 9mm stuff. Maybe we need to focus more on the guys that are loading precision ammo and meeting that need. That's a bigger consumer base right now. So we definitely chase consumer market, but also that being said, there's some stuff that I want to do with the X10 for future accessory expansions on it. So there's a little balance of blend of both, I guess. But yeah, that's as much as I can say. It's stuff that's without getting in trouble for confidentiality.
All right. So I've got a statement to read you, and I want you to complete this sentence. I'm excited.
Gosh.
I'm excited to hear this. Hunter is no, I'm joking. Modern reloading cannot advance much farther until blank is either improved or solved.
Oh.
One more time.
Modern reloading can't advance much further until blank is improved or solved. And I don't know what blank is.
Okay.
I'm just
okay. So I'm going to go with limitations of the cartridge and the platform. So in other words, pressures. I think me personally, now there may be lasers and stuff that beat us to this. I don't know. I'll still be shooting bullets. But what is exciting is, and we've seen it, like we start tiptoeing into, well, maybe brass isn't the best case material to be using with and I think the first real commercial one, I'm going to give 7mm backcountry. They kind of went out and they got better performance. Again, performance, accuracy, and all this stuff. It's a blend. I'm not saying that it knocked it out of the park, but it's the first one I've seen on a commercial level. Before that, the 277 Fury, to where we're doing a hybrid using stainless steels or hybrid alloys that can take an insane amount more pressure, because that's the one where we're going to get more velocity. More velocity is more range, more energy. I think bullet design is pretty peaked out. And we keep coming up with new cartridges that are kind of, I don't know. I won't say that we don't need more new cartridges, but nothing that's really come out has been like, oh wow, that's completely different than everything, than something else that's on the market. Now, they all do their new little trick a little bit better, arguably maybe than something else. But bullet design is pretty advanced right now, and the science behind that. If you talk to those guys, like, man, yeah, I'm like of average intelligence, there, guys. But when I talk to the guys that work for like Hornady or Burger that know the science of it, like the actual engineers, and you start talking about BCs and all this stuff that goes into it that you think you understand as a shooter, trust me, you know, you haven't seen behind the curtain, dude. they're like, oh, a bullet doesn't stabilize until at least 100, maybe even 200 yards. You're like, what? Like, oh yeah, man. Like it's.
I don't even shoot that far usually.
Well, I was going to say it's making sense, and like it, love it, like the company, hate the company, whatever. It just reminds me, and it takes me back to a podcast a long time ago now, when we had a guy on, and whether you like the innovation or not, it's just, you can see someone's making attempt, the engineer, they were starting to speed up the twist in barrels now, because they're trying to compensate for, well, if we can speed this twist up, maybe we can get this bullet to stabilize earlier. But I found it interesting that people are saying, and I don't know what it would do for reloading. I'm sure, human ingenuity, we'd find a way to make some, but starting to go with all this, it's been tossed around a while, this caseless ammunition, it's, I think you're right. I think the bullet platform is maxed out. Yeah, there's going to be some innovation and some major breakthroughs, and people are going to win awards for it, but you're not reinventing the wheel per se. It's, it's all mostly the same components. Now what you're doing is you're fine tuning the actual components themselves or the materials within them.
Yeah, I think we're fighting for the last little bit of few percent of whatever's left in the current way of doing things, and the next big leap is going to have to be somewhere to get more performance out of smaller packages. I don't want to have a huge case. I want to have huge bullet performance and all the comforts of a smaller cartridge. I mean, ideally, if you can have everything in the world, yeah. I mean, I think that's it. And we'll see. I mean, they're making some attempts here with the new cases and that type of stuff, and firearm design, but to make sure that we match it. But I think there's still a lot to go from there.
Man, so before Matt gets into his final question, I do want to ask one more thing, and I think it's pretty interesting to talk to when it comes to reloading. And you are probably the subject matter expert on this. I know you are with us three, even though we pretty much know this answer. For our listeners, I think it's pretty important also that they understand that whether it's reloaded ammo or match ammo you bought or just flat range, cheap run-of-the-mill ammo, the performance you get out of that in one firearm of a certain caliber, you can take that exact same ammunition and put it in a second firearm of the exact same caliber you own, and the performance be a little different. So I think I'd like you just to talk a little bit about the importance and just the simple fact that if you're a hunter and we'll go old school, this lever action 30-30 is your grandfather's rifle that was passed down to your dad and now to you, and this is what you're shooting, even box factory ammo is going to have different results. So you're able to fine tune with reloading. You're able to fine tune not just for the game you're taking, but also the accuracy for that specific firearm.
Yeah, I think there's the accuracy. There's the being able to pick exactly what projectile I want to run, and the performance characteristics of the powder that I want to choose. And then there's also, we don't have to push everything to the top limit. I mean, I'm the stereotype of American male where more is always better, but
oh yeah, for sure.
Sometimes more recoil sucks. And so we want to take some recoil out. Well, we don't have to push that round to its full upper limits. We can choose a projectile that performs better at lower velocities. We can load it down, have less recoil. Why not? Sometimes we want to make stuff quiet, go subsonic. I can do that when I reload.
Mm-hmm. And I think when you get into subsonic ammos, I will say with subsonic, I think that's the X factor with the availability of suppressors, as well as the popularity when it comes to reloading. I think that is the biggest potential for savings if you're a reloader is the price of subsonic ammo, because
it's criminal what they charge for some of it.
If you're looking, and we'll just go to the easy one, the Hollywood round. We'll go to 300 blackout for what people are charging around. Yeah, you can get on Ammo Seek and find some under $1. I know you can. You can find some under, you can do that.
Not much under $1.
But the majority,
maybe $1.
But the majority of it, is right there at that dollar range. And if you look at all of those components and you have those same components sitting in your reloading bench, the only thing you're missing is the heavier grain projectile. I think that's the biggest saving. So if you're a guy that likes to shoot suppressed and you're a guy that wants to, take full advantage of that and shoot suppressed as often as you can with the added benefit of going subsonic, I believe that reloading is the way still currently with today's pricing.
Yeah, you're right. They charge too much. The component cost does change in the bullet, but the bullet doesn't make the final thing double.
Right.
I would compare.
But the component
5,
cost
6,
changes in the powder too. It goes down in powder.
Yeah, 100%.
And up in bullet. So it's like, how are you going to charge me twice as much?
Right. You can save a couple bucks. Yeah.
even
say-
buying
if you're
solid
just-
copper, which is expensive. I mean, solid copper, buying 30 cal solid copper is still, you can still save a lot of money going sub.
100%, but then I can't compare it to the cheapest 300 blackout ammo on the market, right? Like, not apples to apples. Now I can start getting super exotic, high performance bullets more towards the cheapest price. You know what I mean? Like, and that's and that I'm buying, just the cheapest lasting 300 blackout ammo. Yeah.
But if you're,
There's always little niches like that where we can save some money, we can make better products. Yep.
But if you're hunting with the cheapest subsonic ammo on the market, I'm not going to question. I'm not going to question your ethics as a hunter, but I will say that
I will.
You're not taking hunting as seriously as other people take hunting. I'll just leave that at that.
Cheap subsonics are meant for shooting. The only thing it hunts is cardboard and steel. And that's it, folks. The bullets will not perform. Oh, and don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
They're deadly.
You're going to be hiking.
Every cartridge is deadly. Don't get me wrong, but that is not. There's no way you could sit there and say I'm an ethical hunter and I hunt with any type of projectile like that. No way. No way.
All right, Box. I think we've made it to that time. Usually at the end of each show, I like to ask our guests a top 5 guns question. So as Box the Shooter, not as Box from Frankfurt, Box the Shooter. NFA doesn't matter. The cost of ammunition doesn't matter. You don't have to be able to make it yourself. It could be anything from a 22 pistol to a freaking aircraft carrier. But we want to know if you've got 5 guns and only 5 guns for the rest of your life, what 5 guns are you taking, Box?
So I need a shotgun.
Okay.
And I'm a Benelli man, so I'd probably go with either a Black Eagle or an M2. Something like that.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
I can do about everything with that. I do need me an AR-15, a nice AR-15. I want a nice AR-15. If I got it, if we're going like I want nice.
Yeah, no
at
price
least
limit.
arrow.
You can spend whatever you want.
Like I'm just saying, I want something nice. Yeah. I'm gonna want a precision bolt gun, and now here might be the controversy. I'm gonna go 308. If we're saying the rest of my life I gotta do everything with it, I can do a lot of stuff with 308. I need me a pistol.
Most loaders I know say 308.
So I'm gonna go with probably just like some sort of good like 9mm or something like that. Mid-size and that Glock 19 size. I like my Smith & Wesson M&Ps. I don't have a problem with Glocks.
Yeah.
I have plenty of 2011s and all that too. But if I'm saying like I'm using this thing for everything, probably like an M&P or a Glock or something like that. And then I need a 22. Yeah. I gotta have 22. 1022 or something. There's 5.
There's 5.
Now you're talking to a dude that has a whole room full of guns to take down 5s for you.
You're talking to 2 guys that have whole rooms full of guns. We know.
We're sitting here with them. We know the problem. We know the problem.
We know the problem.
Heck yeah. Well, Matt, go ahead and close us out, brother.
All right. Well, Box, let everybody know. Excuse me. Let everybody know where they can find Frankford Arsenal and how they can view your products and get in contact with your team.
Yeah. If you want to see the products, our website's frankfordarsenal.com. And we're very active in our social media on Facebook and Instagram. So drop us a message. Join one of there's also owners groups, like I mentioned. We don't own those. Those are owned by you guys, the consumer. But we're very active in them, and we love hanging out and being part of that community. So that's the best way to get a hold of us.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, listeners, if you've got any questions for Box or have questions for Frankfurt or anything about their product, make sure to drop that down in the comments below. We'll make sure that it gets over to the team at Frankfurt and see if we can get you an answer. We want to thank everybody for listening. And on behalf of Box, Mike, and myself, we'll see y'all later.